Computer. Okay. Hey, this is Erin Johnson. Erin runs a company and started it called the Garden Society. Erin has a pretty broad background, very interesting background. And Erin, welcome. If you could take a couple of seconds and just tell us what you did before Garden Society,
Sure.
and then what sparked your entrepreneurial spirit that helped you start this company.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, thanks for having me. Erin Gore, by the way. Johnson's my name.
Oh, Erin Gore. I'm so sorry, Erin.
I've known you so long, Roy. We've been friends over a decade because you knew me when before I was married.
I did.
So before I started my company, Garden Society, I worked for 11 years, just over a decade at Henkel, a German CPG company, where I started as a chemical engineer. I went to school for chemical engineering and I got the classic chemical engineering job out of school where I worked in a factory. I realized I loved making things. So I went from working in the factory to being outside kind of employee going to our customers, their factories, went into sales, went into global sales, got a ton of experience, really pushed myself, learned a lot, was really successful. But through that process, fell in love with weed and had a lot of medical problems and realized that it was really hard to be a modern woman, to have a career and to have children and to be the best version of yourself. And so I loved my time at Hinkle. It was very hard, but it also set me up to be a successful entrepreneur.
That, that's awesome. So Aaron, what was it that sort of sparked? I know that's a. I'm not trying to make a pun there, but what was it that sparked your interest in the cannabis industry, and how did you find like a seam in a very crowded marketplace? And then, as a follow up to that, what kind of differentiation did you decide to embrace in order to follow that?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was thinking about this in preparation for our interview. And I fell in love with cannabis for self need, basically. I think all great companies are started out of personal need at some level. I had both my hips rebuilt from college basketball. So I was on a steep slope with prescription pain medication and prescription sleep medication. I was on a personal journey to find more natural products that helped me felt better and manage my chronic pain. And through that, I came to cannabis from my now then boyfriend, now husband. And I realized the incredible power of edibles and how they'd help me feel better. They'd help me sleep better. Some would make me blasted to the moon. Some I didn't feel at all. And so being a chemical engineer and knowing how to make product and understanding the chemistry, I started my own journey of making my own products because I couldn't, in 2008, 2009, I couldn't consistently find quality products that I liked how they made me feel. So I started making my own stuff. All of a sudden my girlfriend found out, my other girlfriends found out, and they're like, wait, you make edibles? You have a lab in your house? Wait, what's going on? And so they're like, we want to come over. And I was like, okay. And they're like, we have problems too. And so I was like, oh, really? I thought I was alone. So I started sharing my edibles. I started talking more about how all these women wanted holistic products and holistic healing. And I really found through just talking about weed and talking about my own struggles, this community of people, of mainly women, who were really looking for something as an alternative to pharmaceuticals and an alternative to alcohol. And really, at the end of the day, I resonated with because they were high functioning. Everybody struggled with something. And I realized there was this spark for me where there was this community of underserved cannabis consumers where they didn't have the education, they didn't have the quality products or the brand that they trusted to actually want to buy and consume. And so in 2016, I quit my corporate job. I decided it was right before legalization. I was like, I believe this is my place for women by women with quality products and education. I became a benefit company, so really driving women's health and women's education forward. And I took the dive and I had a quick stop running for public office at the hospital board in case my company fails, but then started my company in the fall of 2016.
Wow, that's amazing. So this idea came out of a need for your own use, and
Yep.
that's pretty common. People find that because they're doing something for themselves, that might have a broader impact and a broader demand outside of themselves. And did you do any testing for that, or did you just sort of
Oh,
did
did
you
we do
just
testing? We started having parties. So the way I started doing product development Well, I did a ton of testing on myself and my friends. Like I'm sure you maybe had some of my early stage edibles that were in product development.
Only after they became legal.
Oh yes, exactly, exactly. And then I started doing this whole journey with basically having girlfriend. They came to me. They're like, I struggle with this. I struggle with that. Could something help me with this? Could something help me with that? And it was all, what is cannabis? What is THC? What is CBD? You know, the amazing thing about cannabis is it doesn't necessarily have to make you high. There's all forms of these plant medicine of this plant that you can use to help with inflammation, anxiety. You can use acid forms. So there's so much more to it than just getting stoned. And I built products for that. And so these women were clamoring both for education as well as these products, as well as something from someone they trusted. And so I started having parties. At these parties, we started sampling, doing product development, trying different things. Some were like catastrophic failures for products. But what it did do more than anything was reaffirm this idea of like building community, leading with education, and having really great, consistent product. And I did enough of these. They started with like 3 women, then they went to like 15, then they went to 30. My biggest one had over 70 women at my house, all there for cannabis education. And that's when it really hit me where I was like, I'm not alone. All these women struggle with something just like I struggle with. All these women are looking for a more natural product than pharmaceutical solutions and alcohol. And there's really something here. There's really a need here, and I should try.
Wow. So that's awesome. So now here we are in 2025. Your company's rolling. Again, no pun intended. And everything's going great. Are there any lessons that you learned that you could share with some of our students that you wish you knew before you launched this and start and ventured out?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would say I have like kind of 3 big lessons. So just like my first one is I wasn't prepared for how hard it would be. Cannabis, we're building the industry as we're building the business. So just for your students to understand, fast forward to today, we are a 3-state operator. We have manufacturing in California, Ohio, and New Jersey. We just became unionized with the Teamsters. We make products for ourselves under our brand, Garden Society. And then we make products for other leading brands like Jetty and Kiva and national brands that you see across markets. So we've really transformed from those early days of product development in my backyard to large scale manufacturing on a national stage. What I would say is I just wasn't prepared for how hard every single step would be. In the early days, I used to think to myself, if I just achieve this milestone, it'll get easier. If I just get this amount of money, it'll get easier. If I just achieve this revenue. And now at this point, 7 years later, I'm really confident to say it never gets easier. It's a startup. And so if you're starting a business, like just be prepared for that grind. I tell people not everyone should be a business owner or an entrepreneur. It is such hard work. It doesn't matter if you're a graphic designer or building a large scale company. You know, you got to love it and have that passion for it every single day. And it's okay if that's not you. So I think the other thing I was totally unprepared for was cash and how much cash and how hard it was really to grow. I always in the early days, I wasn't as focused on cash flow or my profit margin as I should have been. So as I was growing, I had to really adjust and review and analyze and adjust to make sure I could sustain my growth. And that was really hard. I took investor money. I've raised quite a bit of capital at this point to build my company because I don't have access to traditional banking solutions. And so if I would go back and do it again, I'd raise way more money early on and I would have had way more realistic expectations
Yeah.
early on. You
I,
know?
to that point, I have another question for you. A lot of students that want to start their own ventures are already working. They can't afford to quit their job to spend 100% of their time on their business. Was this a sort of a side hustle for you while you kept your job along the way?
Yeah, it kind of, but then kind of not. So I would say my product development was on the side. You know, I started selling cookies to ladies at the golf course. I started really like networking in the industry. I started attending events. I started understanding how to set up my company. But my job at the time was insane. I had an office in Shanghai, China. So you know how hard it is to like commute between California and China and then try to do anything else on the side. It's like impossible. So I had to quit to do it, but I was financially prepared to quit to do it. So like I had saved up money. I knew I was going to do this. Like I was married at the time. My husband had a very stable job. So I never had to worry about paying my mortgage or paying for groceries. I was very privileged in that regard. I do see a lot of friends who start as a side hustle. I also think it's really important when you're starting a business to have a good partner and co-founder,
Mhm.
because as you're starting it, especially if you're going to do it as a side hustle, like you're not going to have enough time to do it all, especially as it gets growing. So like building that early team can be really critical to help you start to accelerate and build momentum.
That's awesome. Erin, I'm gonna leave, if you could leave everybody with just one thing, as we roll out. When someone thinks of your brand right now in this very crowded cannabis space and they think of Garden Society, I know there's certain brand values that you put into this brand. Do you feel that the consumer feels those as well? And can you kind of identify what how your mission and your values, how those get translated through to your brand identity? And
Yeah,
and like,
that's a great question. You should ask Maggie. She's our brand. She's our VP of marketing and
okay.
brand. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, at the core, we lead with quality. So one thing that we have done, so we lead with quality, we lead with craft, we're women owned. We are no longer for women by women. We're really for everyone. We recognize our consumer is a consumer. So
Mhm.
like when you talk about who our customers, they're using cannabis every day, every other day. We want this to be the right price point where you can eat it, use it, smoke it. It's not niche. So you're
Mhm.
afraid or you don't want to spend the money. It's not like a fine bottle of wine where you save it for a special occasion.
Mhm.
Ours is a low cost bottle of wine. You use it all the time and you go buy more. Our brand values are you choose us because of the quality and the consistency of the experience. So you love the effect, you trust it, you know us. We're never going to discount it. So we've grown slower in California where it's a crowded market
Mhm.
because we've basically not bought our way in market share. We've not discounted to the point where we drive it. Instead, we build really true customer loyalty with repeat buys, with maybe a smaller segment of the market because they pay for it, but they also buy it every day, all the time because of the consistency of it. And then we built the business in a way where we have a strong reputation of quality by making products for other leading brands. So our business is bigger than our brand because we've found alternative revenue channels with those same core qualities to the brand of quality, consistency, women owned, leading with values and integrity. And that's really allowed us to scale and survive in this really, really tough market today.
Right. And if it weren't for those strong values that you have with your brand, those opportunities probably wouldn't have been there for you.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Because of our brand values and how
Right.
people perceive our products in the market and the reputation we built on a product level,
Yeah.
oh, you do that for yourself, you can do that for me too.
Love
And
it.
that's really enabled that.
Love it. Well, Erin, I really thank you for spending time and
You're welcome.
for to help our students. For those of you who don't know, Erin is actually right now getting ready to snowboard at Squall, not Squall, but Palisades.
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 If anybody wants to check out our products in Santa Rosa, Garden Society is our brand.
It's a
We're
fine
at
product.
Soulful, we're at Jane, we're all over town in Santa Rosa. You can go to our website, thegardensociety.com, put Santa Rosa, and you can find all the stores we're in.
Awesome. Erin, CEO of the Garden Society. Erin, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Roy.
Okay, bye.